Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to our Rise and Shine webinars. And this is the 10th in the series, and it's Speak with Influence and Power. As usual, I'm joined by Revelation Nyolongo, who is our technical assistant. He's been with me for years from the beginning, and we've done all these webinars together. We've known each other for 8 years now, from 2016. So he's a brilliant young man, brilliant in IT and tech savvy. Right, so in terms of outline, we're going to do an introduction to public speaking with some case studies as well as motivation for public speaking. And then number two is how you can craft powerful speeches and presentations. And then we'll look at speech structure. A lot of people struggle to speak in public because they don't have a structure to their speech. So we'll look at how you can make a good structure for your speech or presentation. And then we'll focus a lot more on how you can keep your audience engaged throughout the speech. And one of the tools that you use is power of jokes. So we'll spend a bit of time on jokes, and I will share with you how you can be funny, how you can also joke. Yeah, so in terms of background, did you know that more than half of the people in the world are mortally scared to speak in public? Perhaps you've seen that funeral, at wedding, at a birthday party, or at an office event. When you're asked to speak in public, you are afraid. This is natural for everybody. Even people who are well trained, they will be a bit stressed up to speak in public. In fact, somebody said, if you care, you always be stressed up. It's just that the amount of stress varies. The more experienced you are in public speaking, the less stress you have. The more skilled you are in public speaking, the less you'll be stressed, because you know how to prepare for a good speech or presentation. And the better prepared you are, the less stress you have. And that's what we're going to be talking about here. Now, you probably know that Winston Churchill is a renowned past Prime Minister of Great Britain. Not just that, but also one of the best ever living public speakers that we've ever had in the world. And he said, is well quoted as having said, if you can speak in public, you will have amazing power, amazing independence. Isn't that true? If you can learn how to speak in public, you will be independent, because you'll not be afraid. When the time comes for you to speak in public, you will be ready to speak in public. But also, if you can speak in public, you have a lot of influence. You can get your voice across. Your point can be agreed to. You can become a leader. There is a big correlation between being able to speak in public and leadership, because most times people will appoint those who speak in public to be their leaders, be it at office, at church, communities, even as chiefs. Most of the chiefs in Malawi, you find that they are good public speakers. If they weren't, then with time, because they speak a lot at funerals, at events, in the village, then they become better public speakers. So there is big correlation between, if you're a leader, you eventually become a good public speaker. If you're a public speaker, a good public speaker, you will generally be a leader, unless you otherwise. But it is interesting that Winston Churchill at the beginning had an impediment in public speaking. What that means is that any one of us can become a great public speaker. You can also become a great public speaker. All you need is to have interest to develop the skill, to practice public speaking. Then you too, like Winston Churchill, you can come from a weaker position to a great public speaker. In fact, it is said that one time in Parliament, Winston Churchill forgot some lines, and he had to even give up and sat down in Parliament. He was that bad. I don't think you are that bad. It means you can even be greater than him. Why not? And that's why we did this webinar, is to inspire that any one of you can become a great public speaker. We are told that he would spend up to 8 hours to prepare a 40-minute speech. In fact, in his own book, he claimed that he would spend 1 hour preparation for every 1 minute of his talk time. And this is very important. I've had some of the great moments to make big speeches in the last 10, 15 years. And I followed this rule from Churchill. I remember this year that we're winding up tomorrow, I think I've had four biggest speeches, two in Malawi and two in Zambia. And I spent a lot of time preparing. There was one in Malawi which was 15 minutes, and I think I spent about 12 hours preparing it. And I remember that just the rehearsal alone was about 6 7 hours rehearsal or 15-minute speech. So this is the kind of importance and time we allocate to a big speech. Speeches that change the world. If you're going to make a big speech, you need to spend a lot of time to prepare, to be ready, and even rehearsing the speech so that when you go to speak, you ooze with confidence. And we talk about the 3 C's of speech. You have to have clarity, you have to have the confidence, and you've got to be concise. So once you prepare a lot, you rehearse a lot, you are likely to be confident and you'll be very clear in your speech. Now let's talk about Obama. So we've talked about Britain. Now, if we go to America, one of the greatest public speakers is Barack Obama, and that's why he was the first black person to become president of America. Now, I've studied Obama a lot over many years myself as a speaker, and I must say that I have learned a lot from him. There is one speech of Obama which I think I've watched more than 50 times because I was trying to really understand what makes Obama a great speaker. This was about, I don't know, 7, 10 years ago. And from my study and research about Obama's public speaking skill and experience, is that there are 10 things that make him a great public speaker. Number one is charisma. Now, how do you have charisma in your speech? It's about having the right amount of energy, positive energy. Charisma is that which makes the audience to connect with you and to keep wanting to listen to you. It means you've got to have the energy, the power, the positive attitude. You've got to have the passion, you've got to have the connection with the audience. You've got to make the audience feel nice as you speak to them. Nice not just because it's entertainment, but nice because the speech is of great value to them every minute, every second. And then Obama has vocal variety. He can speak up, and then there are moments when he really goes down. A speech which is monotonous, same level of voice level. If it is very high, it will wear down the audience. But also if it is too low, the audience will go to sleep. So you got to go up and also go down in terms of the voice level. That's what we call vocal variety. And then Obama is a great storyteller. And I must say that there's one thing that I learned from Obama. Obama can tell a whole story in less than a minute, even 30 seconds. Watch him, listen to him. You see that he does that. In the past, I used to be very windy with storytelling. I'll tell a story in a very, very long style. But learning from Obama, being able to collapse, I'm able to tell a story within a minute or even less. So this is one powerful tool you can have if you know how to tell a long story in a short time with the meaning at the end. We say, tell a story and then make your point. Tell a story and make your point. For those of you who are Christians like me, is this not how Jesus Christ preached in the synagogue and everywhere? We talk about parables. Those were basically stories. And if you did Bible knowledge, you remember there are a number of reasons why we were taught that Jesus Christ had to use parables. Number one, they were easy to understand. They were easy to remember. People could easily connect and relate and all that. But the real power of storytelling is that, number one, it's easy people for the audience to understand your point. Much more than this is that the story leaves memory on the audience. And that's why we say, tell a story and then make your point. Then the voice or volume. Some people are great speakers, but you can hardly hear them. The voice is low. The voice is low. Or sometimes the voice is too loud. It's going to break your ears either. So you've got to have the right amount of control. And the voice has got to be commanding. You've got to have the authority when you speak. And then number 5, Obama has trust relationship with the audience. You will see that when Obama is speaking, the audience will be cheering him and he'll be cheering along, but he knows when to stop it. And he has this powerful hand when he says, thank you, thank you, thank you. And he doesn't just say thank you, command, and I start again. No, he knows how to engage with his audience. There's some trust relationship between him and the audience. And then the power of repetition. This is the effective repetition where you want to make a point. For example, you want to encourage students to work hard. So you say, students, if you want to do well and to go far with education, you must study, 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 and study again. You see, it's not just a matter of repeating, but how you repeat matters. So by me, if I just said, students, if you want to go far, study, it will not be as powerful as when I say, students, if you want to go far with education, you must study, study, and study, and then study again. You see the impact there of repetition. But it's just one example of repetition. The other effective repetition is where you say he was a rich man, he had a lot of money. Everybody wanted to be friends with him to get some money from him. So I thought about him being rich in three ways. He was rich, he had money, a lot of money. So I'm repeating to make you really believe that the person I'm talking about was rich. Now, and then number 7, Obama has a certain style. I call it rhythm. He has a rhythm of how he speaks. And you, as you're building yourself as a speaker, find your own style, find your own rhythm. And that is what will make you a great speaker. And then there's what we call the triad. The triad is where you say things in threes. There are 3 reasons why I say you should work hard. Number 1 is you go far with education. Number 2 is that you find exams easy. Number 3 is that then you can teach others. So there is something about 3, not 4, not 2. In public speaking, we try, if there are 4 things, we try to bring them down to 3. If there are 2 things, we try to look for the third one. We call it the triad, 3 things. Obama, in one of his speeches, says, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the whole truth. I love that line in Obama's speech. You can see he's put 3 things there: the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the whole truth. So it's a triad, but also he's using repetition: truth, whole truth, nothing but the whole truth. And then the use of gestures. Obama is the best user of gestures. And do they not make him a great speaker? Of course they do. And then pauses. He's a master of pauses. A person who speaks without a pause will wear the audience down. The audience, when they're listening, they are working. They need also to rest, but also use pause as a transition from one point to another. And we'll talk about that when we're talking about speech structure. Now, let's come back home to Malawi. We talked about Winston Churchill in Britain. We talked about Obama in America. What about back home? We also have great speakers. One of them, I think, is Bakili Muluzi. And let me put a disclaimer here. I'm not here. I hope I enjoy academic freedom. This is a webinar, so I'm not saying that I am now, joining UDF and what. Let's not look for things which we don't see. Here is a webinar about public speaking, and I think many people like Muluzi as a public speaker, regardless of their political affiliation. And he's almost a retired politician, so I can use this example. Now, I want to give you a bit of homework. What do you think makes Muluzi a great speaker? Use the comments there to share, and I want to read out some of the comments that you have. You agree with me that you'll be going to, you're in a minibus from Lilongwe going to Ncheu, and Muluzi is at a political rally and is making speech and enjoying it. At Ncheu, they say, Ako Ncheu Tsikani. You find the guy says, no, Ndikatsikira Gubalaka, because he's enjoying Muluzi. We had those moments. So what do you think made Muluzi a great speaker? Any comments, any takers about Muluzi? Oh, I can see Sam Rido, my friend, is watching from Dundee in Scotland. Sam Rido, I've known him for many years, since the time I was in Scotland, and he's also a public speaker. He's been a public speaker for, I think, more than 10 years. He's a member of a public speaking club in Dundee, and I've attended with them sometimes. David Ngono, yeah, I had to do the disclaimer. Thank you. Any comments on what makes Muluzi a great speaker? I hope you can put them online, and then we can share there. Charisma. Thank you, Reedy. Charisma. Muluzi used to include anecdotes in speeches. Conrad Mjumila, thank you. Correct. What else? Any other? The way he would put his jokes when speaking, Viapa Chalo, thank you. Willard Jonas, he studied the audience and knows how to convince them. Correct, Willard, thank you. Any other takers on Muluzi? It's time for you to share and connect. Sarai Kaunda, he incorporates jokes. Correct, Sarai, thank you. Greetings, the Blanta there. Nzunga Steve, he uses jokes that bring attention to audience. Correct. Innocent Yunenda, he used jokes so much. Zay, he was able to keep the audience engaged. Correct. Muluzi was born in public speaking. Yeah, probably, but I think he also trained a lot over time. Even his son Atupele joined us in Toastmasters the Speakers Club in long around 2010. So Atupele, he has had to train over time. I'm sure his dad told him he must train, young man. A combination of jokes is what Muluzi is a great speaker, correct? Able to read the audience, Elvis Guya, correct? Confidence, yes, my more very Muluzi is very confident. I think that's why one of the big ones. Jokes like Wichitipa, yeah, Gabriel Sabato. SKC Mode, the way he cracks his jokes when it comes to say, I joined him, oh yeah. Before politics, I would have joked about how he would talk about John Table, but now I have a bit of limitation. But thanks, SKC Mode. Abel William Chilenga used to catch jokes as well as keep audience active. Thank you very much, William Chilenga, and the Innocent Samuel. Innocent. Thanks, everybody. Live example. Hey, Blues gave live examples. So I think they've been implanted there. You can keep doing that. And Blues used the last one, Lillian Banda, used to speak what people were going through the time he knew and the talk of life. Yes, he knew what to say. Sam Rido from Dundee. You enjoyed your experience of speaking at Longo Toastmasters. Oh, yeah. When Sam Rido visited Malawi, I took him to Longo Toastmasters Club, and he's brought me on during COVID. Sam Rido also asked me to join his Speakers Club online. So, and the next time I'll join in Dundee. He has audible voice. Yeah. Mainda Bambo, Dangobera Zapasadimon, the Bakili Blues. So, yeah, he has a good voice, indeed. You're right. He manages voice. Political background upgraded his skills. Yes, I agree. He understood the history. Thank you. Keep them flowing. Now, let's see. What did I write on Bakili Muluzi? Oh, the slide has gone. I had a slide on Muluzi, but it was more of like Obama, charisma like Obama, vocal variety like Obama, storytelling like Obama, voice volume like Obama, audience. You've mentioned you guys also. Eskes Modie, Amainda Bambo. Yeah, that Amainda Bambo in the Bakili Buluzi. Yeah. And then so it's more of what you've said plus these four ones here. Now let's go to crafting a powerful speech. How do you craft a powerful speech? Number one is you need to gather a lot of information. Gather the requirements, talk to the organizers. This year, like last year as well, I had to address 1,000 accountants in Zambia by Zika Zambia Institute of Chartered Accountants. And a month before, I asked them which accountants they expect. I had two speeches, day one and day two. So they told me day one is young professionals who want to become managers and CEOs. Day two is more of the CEOs, partners, and all that. So the two audiences were different. I had to pitch my speeches differently. Recently I was in Chilomoni at one of the stations of the Catholic Church in Chilomoni. Unfortunately, I did the wrong thing here this time now. I did my whole speech preparation without talking to them. One of those days when you don't do what you know you're supposed to do. Now, when I arrived there, my host was good enough, I think because he's a teacher, secondary school teacher. He said, by the way, whatever you're going to speak, we have one big issue here. We have youth who are not interested in education. We have a lot of early pregnancies, and youth are failing to find jobs. So I had to change my speech there and then. But I should have talked to him 2 weeks before to say, what should I include in my speech? What are the issues down there? And I think that's very important. That's why you need to necessarily speak to the organizers, even interview some of the people who are going to be in the audience if you have access to them. You can even ask the organizers, give me contacts for 3 or 5 people who will be in the audience and say, what do you want to hear about regarding the topic? So it's important to be like bottom-up approach. For you to be relevant, you want to talk to the organizers, what they want from you in terms of content, high level, but also Even the do's and don'ts. They'll say, oh, when you come here, don't talk about this and that. And before I forget, there are 3 rules in public speaking. In general, they're general because you've got to be flexible a little bit. But we say there are 3 things you don't talk in a speech unless otherwise. Is religion, because others are Muslim, other Christians, Buddhism, and all that. And then so there's religion, there is sex because it's too sensitive, and then there is politics because some are DPP, some are UTM, others are MCP, Afford, UDF, etc. So you see that the few moments when I've talked about politics have been only on the politics which are safe. As an experienced public speaker, I'm able to know where it is safe. So I've just gone in safe modes, but not beyond that. So you gather a lot of information while remembering the do's and don'ts. And then number 2 is you must keep to what you know, not what you don't know. Actually, this is true also when you write. I remember when I was a doctoral student, when publishing, I'd write an article for publication, and I'd go to my Professor David Edwards. I remember one time I said, I'll remove this graph. He says, why? I said, because I don't fully understand what it means. He said, that's very wise, and remember, that's always in your time, that when you have something you don't fully understand, never include in your speech or in your paper. I've seen people, they have in a slide something, somebody asks, what do you mean by that? They say, I don't know also. I mean, that's very embarrassing. So don't include in your speech or slide or anything something you don't know. I know some people want to look cool. You look cool in putting on the side, but the moment they ask you a question, you look a fool. I'm sorry, but you will. So never include something you don't know. Keep on it what you know. There have been times I've been asked to make a speech on certain topics. If there's a topic that I don't know, I've said, I'm sorry, I'm not able to handle the topic, but I have a friend, Dan Dunga, can tell you about which were the best counters to buy on the stock exchange. So you can refer. You're better off to refer to somebody than go into a topic that you have absolutely no clue. And then number 4 is you need now to filter out the information. And Victor Sivale says, it reminds me a continental workshop on political speech writing attended courtesy of Conrad in Nairobi. Our leaders need speech craftsmanship. Thank you, Mr. Sivale. Yeah, so you need to filter and organize information. You've gathered all of information, but you're not going to use all the information. Select the information that you need. And then number 5, you need to have a structure around the speech. Have you never gone to church where people say, abusa nalalikira koma sinatengepo mfundo imodzi kubanja ta anazalowa za ndrama, anazalowaso kuti za machimo, anazalowaso ku Bible uko za ulimi, za business. So you need to have a structure. I'm going to talk about 3 things. Then so number 1, number 2, we'll talk about structure later, but you need to have a structure and the flow of your speech so that the audience are walking with you. If you don't have a structure, you don't have the flow. And if you don't have one or both of these, the audience will start going on their WhatsApp. They'll start reading newspaper or even a book. You quickly lose them. And when you lose the audience, it is difficult to get them back. By the way, when you lose the audience, the way to get them back is just crack a joke. They ask the neighbor, what joke was it? Nobody wants to miss the joke. So in case for me, the emergency window to win back the audience is crack a joke. If I see one person or 2, they're trying to doze, normally they don't, but if they're almost beginning to doze, I'll tell a joke, then they wake up, because it's embarrassing to ask a neighbor, what joke was it? And by the way, a neighbor will not tell you the joke because you got to be skilled to tell the joke. They don't laugh. So yeah, on a lighter note, but have a speech structure and have the flow. And then prepare visual aids. Maybe you're going to talk about school, bring a book. You're going to talk about hospitals, bring something that the doctor uses, a syringe or something. So prepare. You're going to talk about football, bring a ball or a uniform for football. So it's important to have some visual aids where necessary, not as a matter of fact. Now, this, I think, is the epitome of public speaking. A good speech will have a structure. And let's focus on this. Any good speech will have 3 parts: the opening, the main body, and the conclusion. And we'll go through those three. So you can see already this part of the speech, I'm structured. I've said a good speech structure has three parts: the opening, the body, and the conclusion. You're very clear about it. Then now I'm going to go one by one. A good opening will capture the audience's attention, and then it will transition very smoothly into the main body. Those are the two things you think about in your opening of the speech. And if you look on the green side, on the right hand side, I'm saying, how do you open a speech? You want the opening to be something that generates emotion in the audience, something that is remarkable, or something that is outrageous or controversial. And I'll give examples. Or a secret. Did you know that people who are short are people who, when their babies, never ate tomatoes? So you see, it arouses some, it's a secret. By the way, it's not a fact. I'm just giving an example. Don't take that as a research-based thing. But you want to say something that makes people, surprised or intrigued, and interested to hook on to learn more, or even a taboo. Intriguing, I've already mentioned. So I'll give an example. And when you're doing the opening also, for example, if I'm going to be in Dundee visiting my friend Sam Reader, as I do once in a while, and he invites me to speak to his community there, they immediately think this one is from Malawi. Most of them have not been to Malawi. I have to address their thinking that this one is from Malawi. So I have to deal with that in the opening. We call that breaking the ice. So I could say something like, I come from Malawi, where there is, as you know, there is a lot of problems, poverty, corruption, and all these things. But I come here to give you good news. The first good news that in Malawi we have one of the biggest and the freshwater bodied lake, and a lot of fish. So there's something I'm addressing about Malawi to remove in their mind. I always give the example of Bill Clinton, that in 2004, I was lucky to be selected by the American Academy of Achievement as one of the outstanding postgraduate students in the world. And we went to America, and we were in an audience where Bill Clinton was speaking. And I was sitting next to my colleagues from South Africa, Zambia, and Uganda. We come together from Oxford. They're my colleagues, friends. And as he was coming, that was not long after the Monica Lewinsky issue scandal at the State House. And we were talking to each other, this man is a great president, but why did he have that issue? And before we realized, his first opening was, young people, I'll tell you, not just that you do well in life, but you meet a lot of hurdles along the way. For example, the time of Monica Lewinsky issue, Hillary sent me out of the bedroom. I was in the living room for 6 months. We all laughed. And then he went to his main speech. The reason he did that was he knew that many of us were thinking about that. He had to address it and remove it in our minds. So now we can listen to him. And I remember that one time I was invited to speak in Ireland through a connection, a friend. And I spoke at a church there. And after 20 minutes, I saw that people were not really listening to me. So I asked my friend, I said, why? He said, none of them has been to Africa. So they were still surprised. 2-3 years later, maybe a little longer, I went there again and had to address people at another place in Ireland. And this time I changed the approach. I said, I'm here from Malawi, and let me first of all tell you a little bit about Malawi. So I spent 3-4 minutes talking about Malawi. I've mentioned that I was in Zambia addressing the accountants. I wouldn't just go in my topic, I was talking about artificial intelligence. Before I could talk about artificial intelligence, I need to be accepted by the Zambians, by the accountants. So I had to address that the Zambians are Malawian, and that the accountants, I'm an engineer. So I spent a good 7 minutes talking about these two things. I cracked jokes about Zambia and Malawi, football, netball, and all these things, and how the Zambians look at us and how we look at them, and they were laughing. And then I talked about how I'd wanted to be an accountant and then change back to engineering, and then now I could go in my main topic. So the important is that this is a big important point, that if you're going to address an audience that is not your family, is different tribe, different race, different country, different profession. If there's a major, if I'm going to Mangochi, even if I'm going to Mangochi to talk to people in Mangochi, I've got to first of all break the ice for Mangochi. I've got to find a smart way of being accepted in Mangochi. I remember when I was working at Airtel 2011, 2018, in the early days, 2 years, we were launching a lot of towers, new towers. And around Blantyre, sometimes I'll be delegated to launch on behalf of the MD. Around Blantyre was not a big issue. But when I went to Eastern region, like Mangochi, first time I went there, I did a speech. It was disaster. I can tell you it was a disaster. And I came out very disappointed. Then I remembered this thing about breaking the ice. So next time I was given a tower, I prepared a lot about breaking into the Eastern region people. And then it worked very well. So you've got to break the ice, especially if you're going to speak to people to whom you are a stranger. So let's go to the main body. I think we've covered the opening enough. For the main body, you got to have your 3 or 4 or 5 main points. So you start with point number 1. If you look at the main body, I would say main point. Then within that main point, maybe you're going to talk about farming. And then you say the first important thing about farming is selection of soil. Then you talk about soil types and how you select the soil. The second part is about the seed selection. So you're going to talk about seeds now. And then the third one you're going to you say is about fertilizer. And then you don't go talk soil, go fertilizer, you go back to seeds, then back to soil, and then fertilizer. You confuse the people. Now we're talking about soil, you finish. Then you move to the seed selection, you finish. You talk about crops, you finish. You talk about fertilizer, you finish. You talk about weeding, you finish. You go harvesting and all that. Then you're structured. People follow you. But back and forth, up and down, doesn't work. Now we come to then the third part. And this is the conclusion. You need to conclude very well. And how do you do that? There are 3 things about the conclusion. Number 1 is got to draw the audience to some action. So if it is a political campaign, you've talked about how your manifesto and what, then in the conclusion, you say, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, you have to make the right choice. And that right choice is for you to vote for XYZ. Maybe perhaps yourself as the president of the club, student society, or the community, or the chief. And then you've got to make a statement which is memorable. Therefore, it must be succinct and short. The conclusion has got to be short. If your conclusion is 3 minutes, 5 minutes, you have a problem. You have a problem. Conclusion should be 1 to 2 minutes. 1 to 2 minutes is enough for conclusion because it's the main takeaway. And it's got to be succinct. Not people who say, Mr. Chairman, now to conclude, they talk and talk. Mr. Chairman, to finalize, talk and talk. Mr. Chairman, my last word. And then he concludes again and summarizing and the one last point. And just to remind you, all those are conclusions. Too many. Just one conclusion. Now, we've been talking about speech structure. Now, what more can we say about it? The introduction should be relevant to the rest of speech. So there should be connection between the introduction and the main body. But also when you're concluding, you connect it back with the introduction. And then number 2, you got to keep your speech structure and the speech simple. The more simple the speech is, or the simpler the speech is, the easier it is for the audience to follow you and understand you. Be real and be authentic. The audience will trust you if you are real and if you are authentic. Include also some personal anecdotes. People enjoy that. People like to hear something about you because they want to know you more. The audience is they are your friends. They want you to thrive. So if you have some personal story that is safe to say, you are allowed to say it. And you're allowed to use the personal anecdotes. We'll talk about that when we're talking about types of jokes later on. And then, as I mentioned earlier on, you must relate the conclusion back to the introduction in some way or another. Now, when I do the live training in public speaking, I usually play the resignation speech by Robin Cook. This was in March 2003 when Tony Blair wanted to take Britain to war in Iraq, joining the Americans. Sam Rideau and others, you remember this. I was a big fan of Robin Cook. And his resignation speech is one of the best speeches I've enjoyed. If you have time, just Google it search it in YouTube and listen to it. I watched again today. He was on the government side for 20 years or so. and he was, I think, leader of the house or something. He had been foreign minister, foreign secretary for Britain for a long time. He was a powerful cabinet minister, but he was so opposed to Iraq war, and he wanted to make a very big statement. And by resigning on that day, he moved from the government side to the backbenchers, and he started by saying, "It's been 20 years that I've been out of the backbenchers, and I forgot how beautiful it is to be here." And everybody laughed. What a good way to start. Number one, he sat in a place he's not been for 20 years, a place where he's supposed to sit after resigning, but he already moved to that place. That's already, intriguing. That's already sending a message. That's a very good opening. And then he cracks a joke by saying, "I'd forgotten how beautiful it is to sit this side." And then he starts with almost the conclusion of his speech saying, "I want to be very clear why I'm opposed to Iraq war." And then he outlines very powerful logical flow of his reasoning. And then in the end, he explains to say, "That's why I'm opposed to Iraq war. And for that reason, and only that reason, I stand down and resign." And he sat down. Powerful flow of speech. If you have time, please go to that. Thank you, Anthony Bandabanda, my great advisor, friend. Right now, like in football, golf, everything. Tabitha Mkandawire here. For those of you who remember, she's ranked third in the world. This one is a Malayan female footballer. Recently, she's been ranked is number 7 in the world. Matthews Kantonga, Loyalet, thank you, Chief. Good to see you here. Tabitha Mkandawire, Malayan export. She's number 7. I think she's number 7 or something. And the Tabitha Chawinga, thank you for correction. Tabitha Chawinga is ranked, I think, number 7, top 10 in the world. She's a top striker, Tabitha Chawinga. And if you have followed her story, she was playing football on the streets, local football, when she was young. And her mom and dad were whipping her afterwards. And she never relented. So she's become what she is through a lot of practice. Ronaldo, it is said, when they finish training, he would do some more training beyond that. So you've got to become a great speaker. You've got to practice a lot. Messi is the same. Everybody. I have been learning public speaking since 2003 November. So it's now 21 years. I've been training. I've trained in Oxford, Aberdeen, in Lilongwe, in Blantyre, Mzuzu. I've been driving to Mzuzu to set up a club there. When I was in Aberdeen, we were setting up a Toastmaster Public Speaking Club in Dundee. I used to drive 1.5 hours to Dundee twice a month and come back at midnight. There is no success without investment of time, effort, and money. Never. You can't become a great speaker just because you're born lucky. Nobody. Even Winston Churchill have talked about it. So I've won awards in public speaking because I've invested in that. I've wanted to do that. I've wanted to be a good speaker, and I'm still learning. 23 years, I'm still 21 years. 21 years, I'm still learning because there's a lot more I can learn. I can still become better, and the more I practice, the better I become. Gift. I'm really enjoying this presentation. Thank you, Namakwa Emile. This is very helpful. Good to hear that. Thank you. This is inspiring. Fletcher. Good to hear, Fletcher. Thank you. Good that you're here, sir. How to keep the audience engaged? I think this is very, very important. You need to keep the audience engaged. Number one is through eye contact. Eye contact is the number one way of keeping the audience in touch with you. If it is in a physical meeting, you'll be looking at the audience in all sections. You look at the center, you look to the left, you look to the right, but timing is also key. You don't look, then look, then look, then look. It will be awkward and you confuse the audience. You look at the center for maybe 20, 30 seconds or so, and then you move your eyes to look the other side for a little bit of time, and then you move to the other side. So everybody feels they're engaged. You're not spending 2 minutes one side, then 1 minute one side, and then 2 seconds. No, you spend a good amount of time. The timing I wouldn't know, I just know it by experience, but definitely on the order of to 30 seconds or something. Maybe look at like 2-3 lines or sentences, then you move to another section. So eye contact is very, very important. If it is online like I'm doing here, you look into the camera, because the camera is your audience, because it's the camera that projects you to the audience. So you keep your eyes in the camera as much as you can. Number two is you keep the audience engaged through vocal variety. So you change your voice. You go up sometimes you come down. Amy Namapa, you say exactly. You can't become great public speaker without investing in it. Thank you very much. Gracious Kalua, you're following. Thank you. Alec Chigubu, okay, you like it. Thank you. Following Biton Dawa. Oh, good to hear, sir, that you're here. So you got to have the vocal variety. Sometimes you speak up and sometimes you come down. And sometimes you speak a bit fast, sometimes you speak a bit slowly. And then the facial expressions. If you're happy, you must show a happy face. If you're sad, you've got to show that you're sad. You're talking about a car accident, people were injured, you got to show the mood of sadness, or that represents an accident. Fear, anger, surprise, all the feelings must come through your body language, through your facial expressions. There is a book I bought, it talks about, is it 3,000? We have more than 1,000 facial expressions there. I think you can't master them all, but I think if you take yourself in the moment, then you just find that your face does it. So you don't have to deliberately engineer the exact facial expression. But when you take yourself in the moment, then the face just automatically does it. Then the use of gesture. We talked about Obama. You use the gestures deliberately. With time, they become just automatic for you. And then use of human jokes. We'll spend a bit of time on that one, so don't worry. Body movement, very important. Very, very important. When you're speaking to the audience, how you manage your body movement is key. Now, let me put a disclaimer here. Ramzan Sukwa, oh, Chief, good that you're here. So you were right when you said you'll be here, and as well as Rogers Kumenda. Stay Mau, thank you for your feedback. So body movement, when you are speaking to the audience in a hall or physical meeting, if you're standing up, there are times when you can't move out of the lectern or the podium. You're fixed there. For example, preaching in certain churches, you don't move around. Some churches, they move around. It depends on the scenario. So some cases you don't. For example, you're addressing the congregation at the university and the state president is there. You can't move around. You'll be glued to the lectern, as an example. But in the general rule is where you're able to move around, you stand firm, legs apart, straight, and firm, and you speak from there your introduction. Once you finish the introduction, you move 1 or 2 steps to the left to address people from that section. Then after some time, you move to the center again, and then you move to the right side, well coordinated, and then you come back to the center again. So you'll be having almost 3 directions. Your default position, which is at the center, then you can go left, and then come back to the center and go right. At the end, when you need to conclude, you come back to the center. That's where you conclude. You don't conclude from the left or the right. So that's about body movement. But we talk about body movement being coordinated, not just meandering around randomly. It's got to be coordinated and purposeful. So when you want to make a very big point, you come back to the center. When you want to address people from the other section, you go that side. By having that, it means you're having now a variety, and that adds a lot of color to your speech. Visual aids, I think we talked about them already, and therefore I'll move to the next section, which is use of jokes and humor. So it is said that you can never truly optimize your connection with the other people without some form of humor or jokes. Therefore, we all need to necessarily learn a little bit of jokes and humor. And I'll come to that. The important part is that jokes and the humor will keep the audience alert throughout your speech because they don't want to miss the next joke. So once in a while, you crack a joke, they'll enjoy that and they want to stay on. Mzunga Steve, as helping you through this powerful way of presenting speeches, I should also help you on how to approach interviews because some of you are just staying at home. Thank you. We did one on cracking interviews, but we can do it again. So my team will take note of this. Revelation, take note. Thank you, Mzunga. So we'll bring back cracking interviews. But if you search on my Facebook page, you'll find it. We did, I think, about 2-3 years ago. It was probably webinar number 4, 5, thereabouts. I can't remember. And number what? So, 7. It was number 4. Number 4. So if you go and search, you find that our webinar series number 4 was about cracking interviews. But I think we'll take note that we can still do again later. And I know that Beaton, you're here. Can you put the tumbuka.org link there, where people can go back to watch the other past webinars? So Beaton, can you put the website link there, please? Or Revelation will put it there. So thank you for that. Now we're talking about jokes and humor. It will keep the audience alert. They don't want to miss the next joke. You don't need to become a comedian like Annie Kansini, whom I'm a big fan of, or local Malawian guy trading in the UK, Daliso Chaponda, who have put his picture there. You don't have to become this professional comedian. No, but a few little jokes will help you. And we'll talk about how you can be funny, because jokes will make the audience also free with you. They'll relax. They will be able to give feedback. They'll be able to contribute. SK Simodi say about eye contact. I remember my first time to address people. I was afraid, too much pressure. I ended up forgetting all I prepared. But it's good. Yeah. Can you hear us? Can you see us? Yeah, I think we're live now. We're live again. Good. So we are back online. Please confirm that you can hear me. Confirm online. Yeah, thank you very much, Emile, for confirming. And big thanks to Revelation Yongo for fixing this very quickly, as he always does. He's a great man, great young man, very good with techie. So yeah, we're talking free with you, and the audience will be therefore ready to comment. They'll be able to ask questions, because the jokes just make the atmosphere, very inviting, very relaxed mode. Everybody is free, so it's important to have a bit of sense of humor and some jokes. And the good news is that you can learn to be funny, and you can learn to joke. Anybody can. I had to train myself through Toastmasters. I did some advanced manual on speaking humorously, and then on my own, I read online. I was practicing. What I discovered, the best way to learn jokes is if you're going to talk about farming, then you just Google jokes about farming. You find some jokes about farming, and when you go there, crack two, three jokes. They may not laugh a lot, but with time you'll be getting better. And you're going to a birthday of a boss, then you look for good jokes about the boss, and you take those, and little by little you'll be getting better and better. That's how I learned how to joke. I used to use Google. Then with time I started creating my own jokes. So now let's look at the types of jokes. I just selected 6 of the common types of jokes, and if you research about jokes, you can't discover that the first book on jokes was written about fourth AD, in fourth AD. So it's long time back since we started joking in the world, and since then more and more different types of jokes have come. In the beginning, it was just stories, but now many more types of jokes have come. So the first type of joke is the observational. This is where somebody says, "Have you noticed?" And then he tells a story out of something that happens every day or a situation through which he sees it, a joke. And that's an observational joke. So sometimes when you see things happening, you can see something funny, and then one day somebody's on a queue for fuel or whatever happens. Or have you noticed that when we are eating with elders, so you observe something that is funny, that becomes a joke. So through observing, you can have a bank of jokes. Sometimes in my phone, I have a page where I write jokes, funny moments. When I see something funny, I just write it down. So tomorrow I can use that. So do that also. When you observe something very interesting, you can keep it. And then you have the anecdotal. These are pulled from your own personal life. You had some moment, maybe you tripped, you did something that you shouldn't have done, and then you ended up in trouble or something. So you say, let me share an anecdote. And that becomes a type of a joke. And the third one is character, like Isaac and Jacob, the late, may their souls rest in peace, or Manganya. So those are persona, the persona. You just see Isaac on stage, we all laugh. Just the way he dresses in his acts. We just see Isaac and Jacob. Before they say anything, Isaac would just come on the stage, we all laugh because of the persona, So they create the persona. The classmate at Paul Benzo, just his persona would all laugh all the time. When he's going in the dining hall, everybody's laughing, especially the women. I mean, because he had the persona. Now, even when you're making the speech, in a moment you can wear a certain persona. You could do that. And then we have the one-liner jokes. I love these ones. I love these ones. And I'll put an example here. It says, "I've had a perfectly wonderful evening, but this wasn't it." I mean, that's funny. Yeah. But also, for me, the best one-liner joke is in an American presidential campaign in the 80s. One was old and the other one was young. Then the young candidate said, he said, being American president, you need a lot of energy, it's a big job and all this. SK Simon says we'll share the presentation. We will do that. And I think at the end we'll share the link where you can find the slides. So this younger presidential candidate was mocking the older presidential candidate. And the other one answered by saying, which is one of the well-known one-liner jokes that was very powerful in the moment. He said, "I will not, for political expedience, exploit this young man's inexperience." People laughed and they said change the election campaign, and the old man won the election. In one line joke, he changed the direction of the election and even won it. "I will not, for political expedience, exploit this young man's inexperience." Powerful joke, and change the whole campaign. So you can see the power jokes can even win you something big. Ironic is where you do contradictions. For example, you say, "Why do people park in a driveway but drive on a parkway?" You see that one? Very interesting. Now, you also notice how I spoke there. I didn't say, "Why do people park in a driveway but drive on a parkway?" I went very slow because it's not too straightforward. So I went, "Why do people park?" I paused. "In a driveway." I paused again. And I said, "But," I paused again. Then I went up, voice, drive on a parkway. Let's go again. Why do people park in a driveway, but they drive on a parkway? So I use the pauses for you to be able to follow me and understand. And at the same time, when I said but drive on a pathway, I went up volume and I was speeding up a little bit because that's what we call the punchline. Every joke will have a punchline, and you need to know how you do the punchline. Joke is about taking people in one direction only to change the direction at the end. It's a disruption of expectation. That's the way to define a joke is a disruption of expectation. You take people to where they think, the way they were driving, what do you think these guys were going to die? But no, they didn't die. That kind of thing. And then the last number 6, this is the best actually. It's the most encouraged one. This is the self-deprecating joke where you make fun of yourself. So, for example, you are a short person and you go up stage to speak. Then you go there and then you say, well, I'm happy to speak to you, but first of all, let me just change the height of the microphone because I'm a very tall person. People laugh immediately because it's the opposite. But also, you're making fun of yourself. That I've used the word, the example. Those were short, but others could have other situations. Daniel Ntonga, yeah, here, Chief. Thank you very much. You say keep the fire burning. We'll do that. Now let's spend a little bit of time on PowerPoint presentations. Because my plan was to finish talking around 8 to 10 past 8. So maybe 10 past 8 will finish. So we're going to have 20 minutes of question and answer and comments. So you have 20 minutes from 10 past 8 to half past 8 Malawi time. So when it comes to PowerPoints, remember that PowerPoint is just a visual aid. It is not the presentation. It is you who is still presenting. The presenter is you. It is not the PowerPoint itself. So therefore, do not hide behind the PowerPoint. And if you're presenting in a physical setup in the hall or in the boardroom, you need to stand from the left side as the audience sees. So when the audience are looking at the screen, they'll be reading from left to right. From left to right, they are reading from their perspective. So you stand to the left of how they see, where the lines start, not at the end of lines. Is disorienting when you're pointing, or when they are reading, they're looking at you. So the rule of thumb is that when you're presenting, you're on the left side of the screen as seen by the audience. This is very important. And then we say, there's a question here, would you please share with the president? Oh yeah, I think we've answered that one. And then there is this rule, which we say the 10-20-30 rule. Now, don't take it very strictly, but this rule is very popular for PowerPoint presentation. It says don't have more than 10 slides and don't present PowerPoint for more than 20 minutes, and that the font size should be less than 30 points. Now, would you follow this strictly? Maybe not. For me, if the presentation is 45 minutes, my slides are about 15 to 18 slides for 45 minutes to 1 hour presentation. And the 20 minutes I'm talking about, for me, if I'm doing a motivational speech, I like to make it about 1 hour. But I think 20 minutes, what it means is make it short, not too long. But if I'm doing 1 hour, I will have ways of making the audience stay on for the 1 hour, make them see the value of staying on. So you got to work harder to keep them for the 1 hour. But otherwise, they say keep it short, 20, maybe 30 minutes. And then they say the point size. I think the point there, the meaning is that the text should be big enough for you to see. I like using 24 size. Sometimes I go to 30, 32, but I think the point is that it should be big enough to see easily. And some of the key points, need a few points, a few slides we mentioned already, a few points on each slide mentioned by the size of the font, and define your acronyms before you use them. Don't assume people already know your acronyms. And also don't simply read the slides, but explain the points so that people can follow what you... For the women speakers, one of the key things that you need to lower down your tone, not high pitch, high pitch. So if you watch Margaret Thatcher, if you watch Michelle Obama, Angela Merkel, or Hillary Clinton, all these great women speakers, you see that they've toned down their voice a little bit, the pitch. So work on that and you become a great female speaker. Then there is what we call the 7 P's of public speaking. Thank you, Charles Moyo. You say this is massive and important for everyone. Thank you. So there are 7 P's of public speaking. Number 1 is pronunciation. You want to have very clear pronunciation. It's about clarity. And then the pace. You don't want to be too fast where people can't follow you. Also not too slow where you become boring. But also you pace up and have a bit of variety, a bit of a mix. And then we talk about pauses. We talk about punchline, especially in jokes. And you must speak with power. And you must speak with passion. Like you believe what you're saying. And then the posture, body language you talked about. When you do this, you become a great public speaker. In summary, public speaking is like football or any other sport. The more you practice, the better you become at it. Have a clear message for the audience and have a clear structure where the opening, the body, and the conclusion. The opening is one that it catches the audience and it transitions smoothly into the main body, which is broken down into main points, which have subpoints, and main points, subpoints. And then the conclusion is succinct to the point and is actionable. And then you focus on engagement with the audience and remember the 7 P's. There we are, shortly after 8 o'clock as agreed. And yes, we planned this. We have executed and hopefully we've delivered now. It's time for questions. You can type your question there and I'll answer, or even a comment. We have up to 30 minutes. Since we're finished early, we might finish 20, 25 minutes, depending on the questions we get. Emily Namakwa say, thank you. I want to be one of the great female public speakers. Thank you. Please do. Please do. Emily, where are you? In Blantyre, Lilongwe, Mzuzu, or Mangochi, in Shehu? If you're in one of the cities who have Toastmasters public speakers, is one way to quickly learn, but it's not the only way to become a great public speaker. Just have interest and use the tips we've shared here. And Beaton has shared the website link where we keep all our slides. And tonight, Beaton will put these slides on my personal website. It's mtumbuga.org, I think. So www.mtumbuga.org. Any questions? Please feel free to ask any questions. Otherwise, remember, we also talked about how you break the ice. So if you're going to, like in, or Emily in Lilongwe, join Toastmasters, they meet every other Thursday at Crossroads Hotel, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., twice a month. David Silohanga, how do I join Toastmasters Club? So I think for those who want to join Toastmasters Club, I think, don't know whether I can type here the number of the president. Maybe go inbox and then we can type the number of the Toastmaster leaders. But they meet at Crossroads Hotel every other Thursday at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. You go there as a guest. They welcome you there and you will see what happens there. Then after 3 times of visiting or even instantly, you join. You pay about, I think, $50 every 6 months. Not a lot. It's a good worth of investment. So you're talking about 100,000 or so every 6 months. Is it healthy to speak slang when presenting a speech? Mr. Bandabanda, not really. But if you're talking to Gen Z, yes. Yeah, if you're talking to the youngsters, you could do slang. But it depends on level of speaking. For we're talking to executives, slang will not be allowed. How do we deal with the shyness? Henry Chawinga. So the way to deal with that is just, number one, preparation. If you prepare a lot, chances that you will not be shy because you'll be very confident. Part of shyness is the fact that you're not confident enough. And the number one, so for you, is to prepare a lot and rehearse a lot. When you do that, you may not be shy. And then number two, you need to train yourself to get out of the shyness. And how you do that is just brave it. Get out of your comfort zone. start looking at the audience. Little by little, you went out of the shyness. And the number three is to remember that the audience always wants to support you. Bambo Njema Njema, see, is there a need to mix languages? For instance, English share during speeches. Oh yes, that's very okay. You can mix languages depending on the audience and situation, but it's very fun. When I'm doing motivational speeches, I mix English and Chichewa. Thanks a lot for some of the points helping on my stage when dancing, but I was not knowing. Today I really learned. Thanks, Lugo. Thank you. So back to the question of shyness. I think the lasting solution for you is to join Toastmasters, because there you'll be practicing. The more you practice, the more the shyness will go. Any other questions or comments? Talking about shyness, another thing is about I took it is related to the same as being tensed or stressed up when speaking. Emmanuel Chimweme Banda, thank you for the presentation. I want an insight on presenting in academic disciplines such as PhD. I understand jokes are not allowed in most cases. To what extent can one share jokes? So if you are doing a technical paper, cracking one joke is okay. Even two is very okay. But not many, I agree. One joke will be fine. But what you do in that case is you crack a joke, people laugh. Before they finish laughing, you become very serious. That's what you do. You don't keep laughing with them, they think you're not serious. But one joke is fine. I mean, when I was being interviewed for CEO both times, Ubuntu Alliance, and I cracked joke in the interview twice, but not too many. Again, actually, to me, the joke is good. It means you're confident, but you've got to be sure the joke works. Yeah. So academic interviews, one joke is fine. Emily, we have seen other presenters switching off lights during presentations for the audience to see the slides clearly. I sense one can lose the audience. I think when you're showing a video, you want people to watch clearly. We sometimes switch off the lights so they can see clearly. But for the slides, I don't think it's good. There's darkness. You want the audience to see you when you're performing. So when you're speaking, it's not good to switch off the lights. Laxtonia, would extend effective leadership PowerPoint presentation? I'll be glad. Or are we sharing that? Fletcher, my interest is putting jokes at the beginning of presentation. Can it change the attention of the audience? In the case that attention has switched, how to put back the audience? So look, I was presenting to 1,000 accountants in Zambia. Actually, last year they invited me to present to about 200 accountants in Zambia in April. And it was about technology, something about technology. And I took an approach where there are 200 people, it's 2 p.m. I put a number of jokes. They loved, they enjoyed it. By public demand, I was invited to come back to Zambia in October. So the jokes won me a second trip. It means the jokes worked. Now I cracked more jokes. I was invited again this year. The point I want to make is if you're going to address a big audience and you have zero joke, you not go far. You still need to be a bit funny. They may not laugh, but just they'll smile. Sometimes they'll laugh. It depends on the level of joke. But it is, I would say, if you do, okay, when I talk about jokes, they must be appropriate for the moment also, right? I'm assuming there are jokes that are appropriate for the moment. I've seen people who do embarrassing jokes where the mother can't look at the son or father can't look at the daughter. I'm not talking about those jokes, but jokes that are appropriate for everyone. They are always good. Fletcher, believe me, they are good. In fact, you're asking me at the beginning or mid or the end, if you can, when I'm a motivational speaker, I've figured out if I'm going to be joking, I have to joke within the first 1 minute. Even before I do salutations, I'll crack a joke, then I do salutations. What I've noticed from my experience is if you go on for a long time without a joke, then you try to joke, people don't laugh because they have already registered psychologically that you're a serious man or serious woman. So you need to register that you are relaxed. So I crack a joke, then I do salutations. Next time I crack a joke, they relate very well. Yes, you're right, SKC mode. If you're going to start with a joke, you need to know what kind of jokes. That's why it's good to start cracking jokes among your friends and test them. In fact, those comedians, They don't crack for the first time at that big audience where they have 10,000 people. No, that joke they've cracked it on a dinner of 4 people. They've cracked it where there was a family, where there was friends. They've tested that joke 10 times. That's when they bring to the people there. So if you're going to have a big speech somewhere, it's a joke in the beginning. It's a joke where you have tried it before. How do I balance professional public speaking with emotions? Well, I think if it is in a professional setup, the emotions have got to be balanced. So everything you've got to apply your judgment and wisdom. You're right that in a professional setup you cannot do too much emotion. You've got to balance and manage. Willard, share link ya website yanu mukunenayo. It's www.mtumbuka.org. I will now answer the last 2-3 questions or comments if there are any before we can wind up. Any 2 or 3 questions. What are some options? That's Johnny John. What are some of the options for sharing my PowerPoint presentation with others, and how can I protect my content? Well, in fact, that's interesting. When you deal with the academic people, they sometimes don't share their slides. But how can you protect your content? The way I look at it is, if you look at my slides, I'll just go back. So if you look at, for example, this one here, the 7 P's of public speaking: pronunciation, pace, pose, punch, power, all that. If somebody got this, they don't have the content, they just have the PowerPoint is a clue. It makes more sense to those who attended this webinar. Those who did not, it will be difficult for them to read it. So if you structure your slides in ways that they're just pointers to the information that you have, then you should not worry about people stealing your information. That's number 1. Number 2, I think that information should be shared. To be honest, if you're brilliant, people will not copy you. They'll not copy you. I don't know. I have 21 years of experience in public speaking. These slides, somebody can take them. Will they go and present the way I've done? They need to know. They need to know. The knowledge is not in the slides. The knowledge is with me. So just feel comfortable. If you really know your stuff very well, they'll not copy you. You can share with them. It's okay. It's good for revision for those who listened and watched. Like here, for those who were here, these slides will be with a lot of meaning because they'll be reminding you. But for those who are not here, it will not make as much sense. Uchindami Sowe, I believe jokes is an inborn talent because some force themselves to joke during presentation, but no, correct. But that's why you need to train. I have a friend who saw me long ago, 10 years ago, and then he met me again, and then he said, Matthews, I knew you 10 years ago, you were never funny. What changed? Because I trained. So Uchindami, you can train. You can train. SKC mode, I feel like we need to be here till tomorrow. Thanks for your kind words. And Anthony, my brother, you really enjoyed. Thank you. We'll talk to you later. I think this is it. It's been a great day. Remember, pronunciations, pace, pauses, punch, power, passion, and posture. And remember to train and rehearse a lot and have a clear structure. Esther Chiram Kandayo. Oh, Dr. Esther, thank you, my cousin, that you are here. Good to hear and see you here. And once again, I'd like to thank Revelation Nyinongo, who has been with me on this series online, even when we were doing campus tours in 2016. And maybe I could tell us a little story about Revelation. So we were doing campus tours, some youth group. I was going around. That time he was finishing at Pole, 2016. And the students were taking selfies with me. Revelation came to me. He said, I don't want a photo with you. I want you to mentor me. He said, I'm good with technology, but I want you to expose me to the world. So he didn't do a photo. That day we became friends. And that time, somebody wanted me to do a website, and they had grown websites. So I asked him to do a website. He did the best website I've ever seen for free. He volunteered for free. And he did 2 more for free. Then the next project he got good money, and I've been training him, and he's got 2-3 awards. One of them takes him to America, and now he's in an international job. We've been friends since then until now. We've done great things together. So for young people, I hope this is inspiring to you. Don't just look for photos, but also mentorship and learn from the elders. Thank you. It's been great having you here. See you at the 11th webinar. We'll look for another very good topic, and the interviews will come again one time in the future. Thank you, everybody, and see you again soon. Thanks.